Every cartoon fan knows that Bluey is one of the best shows today. But did you notice that sometimes the character's feet disappear or change position? That's exactly what happens in the episode Hotel. When Bandit gets off his bed, notice that his feet don't appear at the bottom. It's like he's floating in the air. Does Bandit have gravitational powers? I don't think so. It was just one of the 14 animation errors in Bluey that happen from time to time, and we've gathered them to show you today. In the episode Smoochy Kiss from the 3rd season, something very strange happens. While the girls are on a mission to prevent Bandit and Chili from kissing, Bandit needs to go to the bathroom. So they enter the laundry room and notice that the faucet has the hot water tap on the left and the cold water tap on the right. However, when Bandit leaves the bathroom after accidentally peeing on his own foot, we see him put it in the sink to wash. But we can notice that the taps have switched sides, with the hot water one now on the right and the cold water one on the left. All to the horror of Bluey, who found it very gross to put a pee-covered foot in the sink. In the episode Tina, we find a quick animation error that only the most attentive eyes, like ours, would notice. Modesty aside. When Bandit and Chili pretend they're putting Tina in the car trunk, if you slow down the video, you'll notice that Chili's brown fur overlaps the lighter fur, leaving the character's face somewhat deformed. The fact that they're tossing someone into the car trunk is already kind of creepy, even if it's an imaginary friend. But this is even more. From the way Bandit spoke, maybe Wendy is next. While watching the episode Dragon, we discover several interesting and cool things about Mommy Healer. The first is that Chili's mother was a very cool person who encouraged her daughters to do what they like. And the other is that Chili has the ability to draw with her left hand, showing that she's left-handed, but her right hand gets tired. I don't know about you, but that doesn't make much sense to me. Still, this remains one of my favorite Bluey episodes. What about you? In the episode where Bingo is in the hospital, the whole family gathers to make a motivational video for a little red healer called Barnacus and Bumpy. And everything was almost perfect, except for Socks biting Bandit and a small mistake that happens right at the end of the show. We see everyone gathered saying goodbye to Bingo, as if it were the end of a movie. But look closely at the chef hat Muffin is wearing. At one point, it slips and covers the puppy's eyes. I mean, it should cover, but actually her eye stays above the hat. Seriously, when I saw this scene for the first time, I found it a bit eerie, but I loved this episode. And if you also love watching the show about the blue dog, comment down below, #Bluey, to know who's a part of our amazing fan team. But tell me, did you notice that in the episode Cricket, there's a scene that's completely supernatural? We all know that Rusty and Jack are good friends, so sometimes Rusty goes to his friend's house. The supernatural detail happens exactly when Jack's mom picks up the two friends from school, and the little puppy goes to hug his mom. We see his arms embracing the void. So, either Jack was hugging an imaginary friend, or we had a little animation mistake in this scene. Honestly, I think it was the second option. Now, let's talk about a mistake that's kind of relative, so it may be that in the world of Bluey's dogs, this is normal. But in our dimension, this is something that doesn't happen. In the episode Dance Mode, we see Bingo activating the dance moment in her mom, and she crosses the street like this. After that, Chili gets exhausted when she reaches the other side. After all, age catches up with everyone. And we see a drop of sweat dripping from Mommy Healer's forehead, and she then wipes her hands so the drop doesn't fall into her eyes. But as soon as she does that, the drop disappears. So maybe her fur absorbed the drop, or it was simply edited out. Since we're not sure, it goes on our list. And if you're wondering, yes, we even look at animation errors involving sweat drops. Surely the episode Facey Talk is one of the funniest Bluey episodes I've ever watched. But even so, it has a little logic error, right near the end. After Stripe spends a good part of the show chasing Muffin to get her phone, even inside the bathroom while Trixie was using it. In the end, Muffin herself ends up letting the phone slip from her hands. And we can see in the corner of the screen the phone's camera as it flies, and it shows Stripe's house and his family. And at that moment, it shows the balcony of the house, which is empty. But how is that possible if Trixie, Muffin, and Stripe are right there? In the episode Transformation, Bandit pretends to be a ragdoll, and something really cool happens. When Dad tells the girls he'll take them for ice cream if they can get him to the ice cream parlor, Bluey and Bingo reach the stairs and let gravity do the rest of the work, letting Bandit slide down the steps. And at that moment, we see some frames on the wall of the healer's house, and one of them is that famous one with the tennis ball on the beach. But the detail is that it appears not once, but twice. And there aren't two identical frames on the wall of Bluey's house, so this was a mistake. And another mistake that can happen is you not subscribing to our channel. So if you're not already subscribed, it's really easy. Just click down below on the subscribe button and join our team. Going back once again to the Cricket episode, another kind of supernatural thing happens once again. After Rusty had already destroyed the game by hitting all of Bandit's, Stripes, and Lucky's dad's throws, when Chili calls everyone for snack time, note that behind her is Chloe's mom. So far so good, nothing out of the ordinary. But take a look at the bottom of the bench she's sitting on. Note that her legs are in one place while she's in another. Man, I don't know about you, but I found that at least a little eerie. In the episode Magic Asparagus, there's a mistake we've mentioned here in other videos that happens when Bingo's paw passes through Lucky's dad's leg during the lion attack. But we're not talking about that mistake. If you want to see more about it, click on the card that's appearing on the screen. The other mistake happens right at the end of the episode, when Bluey finishes eating her vegetables and is leaving the table. If you slow down the video, you'll notice that for a brief moment, Bluey's head magically goes through the chair as she's getting up. Wow, Bluey really is pure magic, even if it wasn't intentional. Going back a bit in time, now let's talk about an episode from the first season of Bluey, Bob Bilby. In it, we can see a small continuity error that catches the attention of the most observant eyes. Right at the beginning of the show, we see Bentley and Missy welcoming the parents of the students at the classroom door. And Bandit is one of those people who comes in to pick up Bingo. But when we see Bandit entering the space, guess who's next to Bingo? Exactly, the same Missy who had just opened the door. So, unless Missy has a twin sister, which we don't believe is the case, she's incredibly in two places at the same time. What do you think is more likely? Let us know. I think it's just a continuity error. Rita and Janet are definitely my favorite unofficial characters in the whole Bluey show, and even they are involved in small mistakes that happen in the show. This happened when Rita, was trying to hide some bean cans, and we see that there are 3 cans on the floor initially, but Rita lets 3 more fall, which totals 6 cans. But the mistake isn't about the quantity exactly. Note that the positions of the 3 cans that were on the floor were very close to each other. But after Bingo slips on one of the cans she dropped and the scene goes back to Chili, if you're paying attention, you'll notice that the cans have changed position. Unless a very strong wind entered the kitchen, this is one of the continuity errors in Bluey that we found for our list. One of the coolest things in the girls' room, when they still shared it, was that each of the beds had their initials. But on Bluey's bed, the B is uppercase, indicating that she's the oldest. And on Bingo's bed, the B is lowercase, because she's the youngest. But in the zoo episode, something miraculous happens, because we see that on Bingo's bed is the uppercase letter, meaning that should be Bluey's bed. But when Bluey appears at the window to call Bingo, everything goes back to its rightful place, and Bingo's bed returns to having the lowercase b as it should, undoing the whole mistake that most people didn't even realize had happened. Actually, even the show's animators didn't notice this. But our keen eyes don't let anything slip by. But even with all these mistakes, I love watching Bluey videos and episodes. Since I'm sure you do too, we've picked out 2 really cool videos for you to watch now if you want. The first one is really good. Thanks, and see you next time.